This right here is the hardest part. What's up guys? Jason here, aspiring entrepreneur, showing you the day in the life of a budding entrepreneur, the hustle of building a business, the grind of content creation. And today I wanted to talk to you about the dreaded middle. I don't think there's a term for this. I'm gonna just call it the dreaded middle. So I'm going to use a track and field example because I used to love to run around the track really, really fast. So my race was the 400. And the 400 essentially consists of three parts. That's one lap around the track. You start at the beginning of the first turn. And just like with anything, when you start the race, you have all of this energy, you have all of this gusto, just kind of like with this content challenge. The first week, I was pumped up, ready to go. I was recording videos left and right, posting them, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of like when you just start a race. And then you come around that first turn, that first 75 meters, and all of a sudden, all that adrenaline and gusto that you had at the beginning begins to dissipate, right? And then you begin to see the long stretch ahead of you. In the race, it's the long 100-meter backstretch, right? And for some people, that's their entire race, right? Us 400 people are a little crazy. And when you look at that long backstretch, when all of a sudden all of that initial energy begins to dissipate, that's when the winners and losers are determined. Just like in the race, the winners and losers aren't determined at the beginning of the race, and they aren't really determined at the end of the race. It's that center portion, how you play that center portion, that really matters. How do you grind it out? Just like I'm in essentially the middle of my content challenge, this is where it's going to make or break me, because when you come around that final turn on that race, all that energy comes back because you can see the finish line, right? And the same is true for our projects, and whether it's a deadline or whether it's a goal, the closer you get to that subscriber goal or that income goal, the more energy you get. But what do you do in between all that gusto at the beginning and the second wind you're gonna get at the end? That middle part, that's the grind, right? And we like to say, I'm doing the hustle and the grind, yeah. Well, the hustle's the fun part. The hustle's the beginning and the hustle is the end, right? What's in between the two hustles is the grind. And that is where the winners or losers are made in the race, and that's where the winners and losers are made when it comes to building a business, completing a project. And it's up to you to figure out how are you going to stay motivated when you have no energy, because it is inevitable. And I think a trap a lot of us entrepreneurs fall into is we believe we are going to be at 100% on our game all the time, and we believe we're always going to enjoy what we're doing. There are some days where I don't want to record videos. There are some days where I don't want to look at an advertising account. It's those days that we need to proactively think about how are we going to motivate ourselves. No, I do not have a specific answer because I believe it's going to be different for everyone. For me personally, it's blasting music and it's going to the gym and it's just focusing on that finish line and that completion. It's going to be different for each one of us. So just wanted to share that with you. I'm not always chipper, right? Today is definitely a down day, and we're all going to have those days, times, and sometimes it lasts even months, right? So we have to figure out how do we keep ourselves going. So with that being said, work time. It's Friday and we are done. Well, at least for today. We still got the weekend to work on stuff, but finished up the 2 videos for the day. Yes, I'm gonna say that every single vlog that I do for you guys because just feels so good having one more day underneath my belt and done. So earlier today, I was able to hang out with a guy I met here at the building who's also an entrepreneur. He's working on a business, and we got to talking. And one of the things I realized that I never really talk about on this channel is how to deal with the just downright negativity and judgment of other people. We got talking, and one of the things he was talking about with me, we were both, kind of swapping stories of how some people in our lives are totally supportive of what we do. Other people just seem to not get it at all. And worse yet, other people actually bring a tremendous amount of negative energy to it. And so my message to, one of the things, I told him that I've come to the conclusion on, and what I want to share with you guys is they don't deserve to know. They don't deserve it. They have no right. Nobody has a right to know exactly how you spend your time. Nobody has a right to know what your dream is. So let me say that one more time. Nobody deserves to know what your dream is. Nobody has the right to know what your dream is. You have no obligation to share your aspirations with anybody. Like, and that doesn't mean you're lying to people, right? You just omit what you do not want to share, all right? When it's not like every time you're in a conversation, you're being interrogated by a cop and you're going to go to jail for perjury if you don't tell the truth and nothing but the whole truth with your hand on the Bible, right? If you're in a social situation or you're with friends who've previously, given you some flack for what you're doing, you don't have to bring it up. You don't have to answer their questions, right? And I think that's something that sounds really terrible from a social norm perspective. You're like, oh, Jason, you're saying to lie. Like, no, I'm saying you don't have to tell them, because lying implies that the other person has the right to know. And I'm saying this kind of harshly, because a lot of us are dragged down by people in our lives who are not supportive of what we're doing. They just don't get it. For example, last night when I was at the meetup, I talked all about what I'm doing with the channel. I talked all about what I'm doing with my budding digital marketing agency. When I go to other social situations, I don't talk about it, right? Because they're not going to understand, they're not going to get it, they're going to be judgmental, or worse yet, they're just going to look down on me for not having a full-time job or not doing something else with my life, or telling me what a complete fool I am and what a waste of time of what I'm working on is, right? So you don't have to listen to all that stuff. You don't have to give them the fuel to essentially throw all that garbage back at you. So again, I'm not telling you to lie to people. I'm just letting you know that we all have permission not to share everything that we're doing in our lives, right? If we know that sharing with a family member, a family, or an entire family or friends is going to hurt what we're doing, then you don't have to share it. Just keep it to yourself, right? There's so many other things to talk about, right? There's so many other things to talk about. So I just wanted to share that quick tidbit with you and just essentially let you know that there are other entrepreneurs like myself who I am super open with you and everything that I'm doing here, but that doesn't mean I'm super open with every person that I meet. We all have the right to hold close to what's considered private and what's considered important, right? Just like we don't broadcast every single conversation we have with our significant other and the intimate details of how a conversation went, we don't have to broadcast the intimate details of what we do with our free time, or if we even have a side hustle, right? Because if it's going to if it's going to bring negative energy to you, why bother? There's no point. It's just going to hurt. It's just going to hurt you and hinder you from being successful and doing what you need to do. So with that, I'm going to sign off. It's a beautiful Friday evening. Time to have some dinner and then get back to some YouTube writing for the 4 videos that are going up this weekend. And I want to thank you guys again for watching. And until the next video, keep building the business you love. Take care.